diade nanya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de nesegbe diade nanya benyele yo
Follow me to the
na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benye yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye na ye na ye na ye ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne segbe diade nanya benyele yo na ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye ye na ye na ye na ye ye na ye ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo na ye 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 ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo na ye 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 ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo na ye 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 ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo ne dwa gutwanu de ne sagbedi diade na nya benyele yo na ye na ye na na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye ye, ne doa gude, ne sekbedi diade, na nya benyele yo, ne doa gude, ne sekbedi diade, na nya benyele yo, na ye na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye ye, ne doa nude, ne sekbedi diade, na nya benyele yo, ne doa nude, ne sekbedi diade, na nya benyele yo, na ye na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye na ye ye, na ye na ye ye, ne doa nude, ne sekbedi diade, na nya benyele yo, ne doa nude, ne sekbedi diade, na nya benyele yo. nanya benyele yo na ye 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 ne doa gutwa nude ne se bedi diade nanya benyele yo ne doa gutwa nude ne se bedi diade nanya benyele yo na ye 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 ne doa gutwa nude ne se gbedi diade nanya benyele yo ne doa gutwa nude ne se gbedi diade nanya benyele yo na ye 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 ne doa gutwa nude ne se gbedi diade nanya benyele yo naye 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 ne doa kutoa no de ne se bedi dia de na nya benye le yo Na ye, na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye, ye. Ne doa kutua nude. Ne se bedi diade. Na nya benye yo. Na ye, na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye, ye. Ne doa du de. Ne se pedi diade. Na nya benyele yo. Ne doa du de. Ne se pedi diade. Na nya benyele yo. Na ye, na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye, na ye, ye. Na ye, na ye.
Where everybody's very welcome. It doesn't cost anything. It's outside, so maybe it's nice to wear a warm coat. But we're also serving some hot chocolate and those things. Yeah, and about this theme, the managing discomfort. All the artists that you can also see tonight at 8, beginning with other theatre program here. It's beginning at 8. The word managing discomfort is because all the artists relate to certain challenges in their life through art as one means. And you have also said you don't really, the difference between art and life is not so important in a way. I mean, I think that maybe the word managing discomfort is a very weak word for what's happening in Ghana right now, where you live and you have your residency and refugium, because there was passing this law 2 days ago that makes it illegal to be queer, to be LGBTQ in Ghana. And the only thing that needs now is that the president will also sign it. And it's an extremely difficult situation. It's much more than a discomfort. So we worried if it would be okay for you to still make your performance tomorrow. But as you say, it's a question also of healing. The work is called a call for healing. So yeah, we're looking forward to your lecture and to your performance tomorrow. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you very much for the short introduction, and you are all welcome once again to meet me, those of you who have met me already. My practice is not separable from my life and my existence. So everything I do, my breath, my sleeping, my eating, and everything, they are all part of my artistic practice. And you would come to understand that through the presentation, how I became the kind of artist I am today, and where I came from into doing what I do today, and possibly what is ahead of me. Just for you to understand the work in context, and also I'll be referencing a lot of things. I would like you to listen to just this short statement I made when the bill was pronounced, and then you can be writing down your questions throughout my presentation. I like questions, I like conversation, so when I'm done with my presentation, I will be very glad to have questions from you. Thank everyone who is caring for me. And good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone who is caring for me and responding to my mental and emotional crisis. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your contributions. I'm seeing a therapist now. But at the same time, I want to break this bad news to you that Ghana has just passed the anti-LGBTQ bill, and we shall continue to fight it even from our sick beds. Even in the grave, we will continue to fight. Even in jail, we will continue to fight. We are not fighting because we are brave. We are fighting because it is our life, it's our breath. If you are drowning and you continue to fight against the waves, it's not bravery. You are fighting for survival. So I just want to tell all Ghanaians, especially the queer people, the queer community, to rest assured and not panic that we will win someday. Please, until the president has signed the bill, it is not yet a law. So do not allow anyone to abuse you that there is a law against LGBTQ persons, and report any abuse and violence against you to the police, even though we know that it's always very difficult to find justice. But speak to someone. Reach out to the community members. Reach out to any organization that supports queer rights. If you find yourself in any kind of trouble, watch how the parliament acted when this bill was pronounced passed. As almost everyone screamed yes, but no one screamed no against the bill. That tells you the kind of country and the kind of governance that we find ourselves under in Ghana. Over 275 MPs, members of parliament, were just sitting down there for only 8 members to propose a hateful bill that went through successfully in the parliament to become a bill that was passed. If no one stands against this and the president signs this bill, it will become a law.
So let me put a question. Those in favor that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021 be taken through the third read, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it.
That is how silent the parliament was when they asked those against the bill should say no. No one said no.
The Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021 is read the third time and passed.
So it is official by a private member's motion. Parliament of Ghana has passed the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Bill 2021. The pass just took the bill to third reading. It has now been passed. And this is via a private member's motion sponsored by 8 MPs of Parliament. The lead sponsor, Sam George, and of course, 7 other members of Parliament. What is official this afternoon, if you are watching Joy News? The breaking news is that Ghana's Parliament has just passed the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021.
So those who do not know anything about the so-called Human Sexual Rights and Family Value Act, which is the most violent anti-LGBTQ plus bill in the world, the bill criminalizes being a lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans person, cross-dresser, and anyone who is non-binary or who does not fall within the hetero, cis, binary, gender, and sexual identity is criminalized under this bill. The bill actually criminalizes parents, families, neighbors, landlords, schools, and doctors who will sympathize, empathize, be in solidarity, or support anyone within the LGBTQ plus like anyone within this community. It also prohibits any organization, society, association, or club that supports the right of queer people. So please, I'm just reaching out to all international and local sympathizers, fans, lovers, and friends to support us fight this bill, not to become a law. I would want to take this bill to court. So I'm also reaching out for recommendation of lawyers locally or internationally who can support, advise, and guide us in how we can take this bill to court, because the bill in itself violates our existence as human beings. Just me being trans, I would go to jail for not less than 5 years. That alone is a crime against humanity. So I would want to drag this bill to court. If I would have to sell my head to win this case in court, I will do so. At least not for myself, but for even generations yet to come. So please, if you are hearing my voice, please, we need recommendations of lawyers, locally, internationally, any way you can help us to take this bill to court. At least on the basis that it violates the basic human right of just existing as a human being. So I am calling on everyone, please come to our aid. Respond to us. I am not too well, but I have to do this. I am not too well at all, but I have to do this. So I am really calling on everyone that I, Va-Bene Elikem Fiatsi, I would like to drag this bill to court. Now that it has been passed, I would like to drag it to court. Thank you very much. I would really appreciate every support that will come from anywhere to win this case. At least not for myself, but for a whole generation yet to come. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. Love wins. Love wins. And love always must win. Let's fight this together. This bill is no different from the Nazi regime. This bill is no different from the witch trial in Salem. Let us fight this evil. This bill is no different from slavery and all the violent and abuses through colonial era. Let's fight this evil all together. Please join me fight this evil. Thank you very much for hearing me out. Love win. And last, love must win. Love must win. Yeah, thank you for listening. It's a summary of what is going on currently in Ghana. I love to play it before we start the presentation so that when you are seeing very radical things or you are seeing things that are outside of your own bubbles, you would also begin to see it in the context of what you've already heard. I have made all the attempts to speak with the president since last year. In July, I was in the presidential house 3 times. The 3rd time, I was just harassed by the military before I flew to Switzerland for a new project. So I work both as a public activist, but I also work again underground because some of activism has no one route to freedom. So if I do my public work and the rest, I also like to meet people and speak to them. And that was my request to the president 2023, July, and which he has still not granted and has still not responded to my letter. I have been in parliament in person, which was kind of risky the first time I stepped my feet in the parliament. Most of my colleague advocates would have even chained me down because they forbid me from going to the parliament, especially not just because I'm an advocate, but I'm a trans person. And that's was really hard. But I took those steps not because of bravery, but because I think that they need to see human face. They need to see human being than the images that they have been preached and they have been hearing about. All they know about trans and queer people is just a demon. But they need to meet me. They need to see the person that we are. Perhaps something could change in their mind. And this is why I take certain risks that I take. That's why I'm also willing to go any extreme to take the bill to Supreme Court. And if I can even take it to any international court, I am willing to do so. So the titling, as you see, An Art of Advocacy, is a way that I'll be explaining how I came exactly into performance art because I didn't study performance art. This is one of my performances trapped in sharpened rusted spikes. So these are iron sharpened in a rusted crossed pipe. You will see a lot of references to Christian iconography in my presentation, but that was also because I was once a preacher and I was once a pastor, I was once an evangelist. So it comes over and over again as a reflection in what I do as an advocate. If my voice is going up and down, it's because I haven't been in a good health like for a while now. So sometimes I just lose the energy, but I'm always happy to talk and to speak with people. So I think I earn all these names, not because I see them as titles and jobs, just because of my practice. I begin to identify as a multidisciplinary activist. I'm also a mentor, and I also work as a philanthropist and an independent curator. You would understand all of them through the different slides, but I reclaimed the title of philanthropy just recently because a lot of people now refer to me as such, even though I never even in the beginning call myself so. But the work I do, caring for several other young people who live in my house, some of them need education to be in the university, to learn trade. They are physically living with me, and I have to financially support them through whatever they need. I do not have any international or local funding to do the things I do. Everything I do is through the salaries that I earn in my practice. So even as I am here right now in Denmark, my salary was supposed to be sent to Ghana this evening just because it's able to do some work back home. So that is it. Everything that I earn is what I invest into my practice. So this is the space that I run aside my activism and my artistic practice. I run this space called Perfocross International Artist Residency, which has hosted over 170 artists from all over the world, from more than 25 countries since 2019. I launched this residency as a way of expanding my own activism and also creating space for people to converge and to discuss, like we are here to discuss the discomforts and to discuss the radical sense of being together. Because if you bring queer people, non-queer people, white, black, blue, green people into the same house and they live for 1 month, 2 months, they would have to deal with the differences. It's a way of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And so artists in residence all live under the same roof here, 24/7. We eat together and we work together, and you have to deal with all these heavy ways of living together for several months. So what is peer? For me, it is radicalizing the art and a resistance. It's a way of building community and also normalizing our existence. because it is also because of the invisibility that people think that we never existed. If you listen to the most hateful activists against queer people, they always say queer people whenever in Africa or whenever in Ghana, it is an importation of a Western culture, and I don't know how. I never stepped into Europe until I was 35 years. My first trip to Europe, I would show you, was 2016. But who was I until then? So I wasn't imported from Europe in any way, unless I don't know when I was imported. So that is the aim of of PIA, and this performance, which is my performance, I call it "To Live, We Died," and also is one of my own philosophical journey through the way I create performance as an intervention, because we have always died to survive. And this same concept is borrowed even in Christianity. The concept of baptism is that you have to die 3 times and be born again. That's why they say call it born again. So in many phases of rituals of becoming, there is a sense of dying to be born again. And as a trans person, we died to be born again. And this is also some of the things that inform the way I think about many of my works. So if you come to my performance tomorrow called A Kall For Healing, it has similar taste. So this is a report from Reuters where they visited me. They tried, I think they've been following me for a couple of months, and they wanted to make a documentary on my practice, and they never had a chance until 2022 when they came. It was the same time I was traveling to a funeral of one of my grandmothers, and they said they don't mind, they want to go to the funeral. And they actually went, so you can read this on Reuters, and you will get accounts there. For the first time, I was back in this particular village of mine, and they saw how the families reacted, responded, and they also saw how I can return hate with love. And this is how I have been living my life over the years. These are some local reports and also interviews where I was confronting the anti-LGBTQ bill and pastors who were preaching hate. Now, the genesis of PIA, if you hear PIA, I'm talking about Perfect Grace International Artist Residency. The genesis was 2016, which was the first time I stepped my feet into Europe, or where I first left Africa, Africa to any place outside of Africa. So I was invited to Bonn Festival in Switzerland, Bern, to present a performance. Because prior to that, I have never received a single honorarium or salary for my practice. Since 2013 until 2016, I have never been paid. I have participated in several performances, both in the university exhibitions, public festivals, and my own interventions on the street. But I do that by selling on the street to fund my own practice. I was selling something we call sobolo and water on the streets, and also when I was in the university to fund my own practice. So when I got this opportunity for the first time to travel, the performance I titled Regeneration, and which was also exploring and looking back into how we can confront our own colonial histories, how we can look back into all these oppressions and see also from which side we have internalized these oppressions and reenacting them in several other forms. People who suffered racism are people who also are enacting certain other forms of oppression. People who suffered apartheid are the people who are also enacting xenophobia in South Africa. Now, Ghanaians who suffered both slavery, colonialism, and many other violence are enacting a law that criminalizes other Ghanaians who do not identify as they identify. So for me, looking through all this lens of how do we reproduce and the continuity of this kind of violation and oppression, was the regeneration that I was looking into, and to present my Black, queer, trans body for the first time in an European space. It was -2 degrees when I was performing this. for over 1 hour. And honestly, this was the first time I met Henrik, and which is the reason I'm sitting down here right now. So this was the first work Henrik actually experienced in person. And we have kept our friendship over the years, and we're thinking about how possible one day we will be here, and it's happened now. So after how many years? After almost 8 years that we met, I am now here to have a proper conversation on my practice with Henry.
So glad you're here. It's about time.
Yeah, thank you.
It might be -2, but it was so cold and it was snowing.
Yeah.
And you were sitting on that metal chair. Oh God.
Yeah, if you see the audience in this picture, you understand how cold it was. Yeah, because temperature can be -degrees and it can feel different, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you are more Europe, so you understand when they say temperature feels different. Yeah, so that was it. And the flags you are seeing there was from my junior sister who lives in Berlin as a medical nurse. Because when she heard I was performing, of course, she has seen what I do in Ghana, so she can anticipate that I was. She always say, how also where the medical work is, like they call it deaf calling or deaf something. I don't remember. For her, she feel like I'm just suicidal. I'm just wishing to die. So when she came, and after 45 minutes, if you look deep into my eyes was turning in. I was losing it. I became cold from the feet and going towards the heart. And according to medical practitioners, if you get cold from feet to the heart, you can pass out, you can die. So she saw that something, and she quickly went to get hot water and put tea inside and put it on the table, which I never touched in the performance. And this broke her heart so much. I remember after the performance, how she was crying to me that I rejected her even in my performance. Yes. But that was with the Bible and chain and the rest, and it's also the compilation of all the elements that lead to our oppression, and which is again repeating itself, because Ghana's bill, the anti-LGBTQ bill, is still supported by this Bible. The same way this Bible once used to say that slaves must be obedient to their masters, is the same way this Bible has come back to say that queer people do not deserve to live. So after that performance, the salary I was paid, which was nothing actually, but for me it was the biggest money I've ever received in art, I decided to rent this space. And so I rented this house, not the house, I rented 2 rooms. I could only afford to rent 2 rooms in this time, because the money, you can imagine how much they're paying for a performance, right? So I rented the one room in the space, and it was I was sharing with other co-tenants who were renting 6 other rooms in the same house. And I was hoping someday, somehow, I'll rent the entire house. And so from that 2016, any work I was doing, I was putting the money together and renovating the space over time. So there were a lot of renovations, as you are seeing, that were happening from that time I took the place until 2018. My co-tenants actually left the house, and by these 2 years, I was also able to raise some money from my practice, and I decided to rent the whole house. So I rented the entire house. So now the entire property has been rented by me. And then we continue the renovation, we continue changing the space, and I launched the residency in 2018 around September, and 2019 the first group of artists arrived, and this is how the house kept changing, and there is always transformation. The huge screen you saw there is our presentation screen, and how you saw us eating outside that's the way we eat on every evening. I'm happy there is one other artist from Ghana who has also been part of this space, like coming almost all the time. Even our Lafi, she would come and cook for us. And with Halima in residency with Art Hub. Yeah. So this is how the place evolved over the past years. And every year there is still new work. So as you can see, there is still new work. And the money I'm receiving here, which is going home hopefully by tomorrow, is supposed to be doing some work. Now, this bill that has been passed, if it is signed tomorrow by the president, it means that my landlord will be jailed, because it is specified that landlords cannot rent their homes to any queer person. And so we have been raising funds to buy our own space, which we never got any money enough to do so. But we still continue to spend developing this space. I don't know where I have the hope and faith from, but I keep just doing it. And this is the last feast. So this is the same house you saw from developing. And after 2019, when we launched the residency, we were alleged by the locals in the community that we were recruiting people into homosexuality. And that was so threatening and scary. So they attacked my landlord for this, that he gave us a house or a home to recruit people into homosexuality. In fact, I don't know how they recruit people into any form of sexuality. If I really know, I'll recruit the president into homosexuality. Yeah, so that has been the house. And so after we got this accusation, and I was the main target because I'm the mother of the house, the mother of the space, then I started thinking, like I said, I like to return hate with love. So I started thinking, what do we do? So we built the wall. The wall you saw us building, it was a plain house first. And we built the wall to protect both the artists and people in the house. So we did that, but I felt so conflicted, because my aim and hope is to merge and to create a bridge between the queer community and the Ghanaian society, the artists and the audience. Like, I want this kind of communal existence, which we experience when you go to like very indigenous Ghanaian home. Several generations are living in the same room. They eat together. You'll be amazed to see such a thing. You know, there is nothing like this person is useless and this person is useful. So this, I was inspired to create with my practice. And now I'm building a wall, like a Berlin Wall. And I was like, what is happening? So for me, I was conflicted. And I decided then that no, there could be a wall, but you can also open this wall in a different way. So the love feast you saw, we launched the love feast, and the aim is to bring all people together, to eat together, to drink together, to dance together, to share stories. No fee, no entrance fee. So at least for this one day, everybody can come together in this wall. So this is the way I collapsed the wall conceptually. And that has been the love feast since 2020, just after we were accused and alleged that we were recruiting people. You will see the love feast video later, and you will see how the same people who accuse us now can bring their children to the love feast. Maybe they want us to recruit them. So that is the way I respond also to so many things. This video also quickly would help you see how I also deal with healing rituals, and what are my takes on healing. Because I always see healing in itself as one of the most challenging, difficult, violent experience that one undergoes to be whole. I don't think it's a pleasure for anyone to walk into the hospital and say, cut my breast, cut my heart, cut my brain, cut my head. You know, you seek for healing through this hard process. So as through my transitions, I realized that many of the things that I was confronting were not that pleasurable for me. I had to go through so many emotional pain to be who I am today, so many physical and mental pain to be who I am. So the death in my bed is looking at healing as the death and life that is trapped in my bed. And this was the piece I created in Basel last year when I was in residency, with a lot of clinical objects, clinical materials, and also butcher's knives. So the clinical materials which seeks for healing, but the same apparatus in the butcher's store does not serve the same purpose, right? So like I was combining these violent images or violent imaginations with the healing tools that can also be very violent. Yeah. So this was the piece I developed between August and October, and I finally presented it in the University of Basel, the Art University, the first time in the Tank. The place is called the Tank. It's a glass building. So in the piece, you would see how each time I try to survive, I try to get air, because like my mouth, my nose was stuck with clay, and so I suffocate through the process. And it's been the way I've been looking at the process of my healing rituals. And so even if I repeat a piece 2 times or 3 times, which I hardly can do one performance more than 3 times. So if I do it, I also look at it in a very different way, that the piece is no longer the same piece, because the piece is not experiencing the same audience. If I present this piece here in Denmark, it's not the same audience, it's not the same room, and even the temperature. So I try to look at that aspect of my repetitions, also taking new forms and new experience. But then, what motivated me to finish that project was my own process, because it took me more than 10 years to finally come to accepting or willing to undergo the knife for my top surgery. Because I like to process so many things. So when I finally accepted that I want to undergo the knife, I got so many recommendations. And one good, beautiful recommendation that I got, which was 5,610 euros for my top surgery, was found in Turkey. And you can see all the offer under. It sounds good. Some people saw it very expensive, but others said it was very cheap. And it sounded good. And not that I couldn't have afforded to pay for this. As an artist, I know my salary. Sometimes one work can pay for this. Sometimes when I travel and do one work, I can pay for this from it. But one thing is, if I think of paying 5,610 for myself as a healing journey, I am always conflicted with this 5,000 can pay 2-3 people tuition fee back in Ghana for me, the same people I'm taking care of. So I'm always conflicted between caring for myself and caring for others. But in fact, in this time, it wasn't the hardest decision to make. The hardest decision to make was that I have to go to Turkey to do my top surgery. And Turkey was the first place I was abused as a trans person, at the airport in Istanbul. So now I have to fly back through the same airport to go and do a surgery. I was mentally broken to know that this is it. And it took me more than 2 months, and then the code expired. So the code expired, and they reached out, and they gave me an extra 3 months to think about it. And that also expired. I just couldn't make that single decision to fly to Turkey. If this was to be done in Germany, yeah, I would have done it. If it was to be in Poland, I would have done it. Even if it was to be in Ghana, I would have done it. But Turkey, just because it reminded me of what happened during my time in Turkey. I have suffered so many abuse in international airports. You know, I was detained in an airport for 3 days and stripped naked in the airport just because I'm trans. And so that also explains that being who we are is not only problematic in the country we live in. Because there are rights, but there are rights for some people. I was traveling through Cape Verde with another trans person from Brazil, but white trans person. She was allowed to pass through the airport. I was detained in the same airport. Even lawyers questioned that. Even the Prime Minister of Cape Verde gave a letter for my release and even questioned the same thing. It was a huge case in 2018. So I have collected so much experience even moving around the world. And that is why I couldn't go ahead with this piece. Yeah. So that was all that informed the way I was looking at this performance and how the format in which I was presenting it. were informed by the experiences that I had and the thought processes of making decisions on my own healing rituals. And so now understanding the story of how I have to make decision between my top surgery and the space I have to make, you would also see how I have to be struggling in this bed to survive. So this was like the horror in my bed is both life and death. And that's why I call it the dust in my bed, because the dust, which is a clay, has been one of the best ritual element that happened to me when I started my performance. I always see myself being connected to the earth when I perform with this material. It takes away all my fears, my vulnerability. Yeah, I feel like I feel so empowered when I am using clay in my performance. Yeah. And so the piece was repeated 1 week after or 2 weeks after in Bern, again in Switzerland, but in a different context. So you can now see where the piece now is. So you can see the butcher's knives and the stuff. How where the piece now seem to be like trapped in the womb or a different kind of space with all the lightings and the rest. So when I was invited to do this, the first night I wanted to see the space because I wanted to see how I can readapt or I can adapt the piece to a new space, a new environment with certain forms of spontaneity also in the piece.
Hi.
Okay, so the piece is on YouTube, so you can watch it again yourself because videos really take time in presentations. Yeah, but this is how, and the bed is automatic bed, so it has a remote and I could control everything within the same performance. So you can see the bed rising up, moving up. Yeah, so as you can see, so I like to also play with all these elements in the performance and most of my work. Yeah, so as I said, an act of resistance or resilience, the same way I also look at the performance as an act of radical resistance. And this was our Independence Day 2020, because independence actually moved from one independence celebration every year. They moved from one city to the other. So this year it was Kumasi. And when I heard it was going to be in Kumasi, the first thing that came into my mind is that how do we celebrate independence when we are not independent? How do we celebrate freedom when we don't have the freedom? Everybody on this day is supposed to be celebrating Ghana's independence. And there is going to be a lot of school children that will even be marching the street, kids, even hawkers on the street would have to march, like different disciplines, mechanics, tailors, but queer people cannot even have queer pride in Ghana. We can't. You can't even hold rainbow flag in Ghana. Very soon, the next thing they'll criminalize is to criminalize the color rainbow in the sky when it rains or when the sky shows rainbow. I don't know how they are going to do that. But if you put rainbow wristband, you can be in danger in Ghana. Last year, our billboards were burnt down by people, and it was national news because there was a wristband of rainbow on 4 hands holding each other, no face, just hands like this with rainbow. And this happened. So you can imagine what it means to show off that you are. Even as at that time, the bill was not passed. So when this was coming, I decided I was going to confront it. So I took the Bible, and it was one of my old Bibles that I used to preach with, and I tore it apart, painted part of it in Ghana's flag. And the letter I wrote in it was, "Oga Landlord, permit me to march for my people." Of course, I know it will be a risk to say Ghanaians should come for a Pride March, but I'm asking I should march for my people. We are visible, we are here. we are part of this country. We deserve the freedom. We deserve the so-called independence that Ghana gained from the British. And so I went into the crowd. I managed to go through, because if you watch Ghanaians' independence, or you watch even Ghanaian president moving through the crowd, it's like an American movie. With a lot of bodyguards, a lot of militaries with rifles, and this is how Ghana is. Very militant in a way. So I went through the police, I went through until I went to the militaries, and the main entrance to the park was when they decided to just close the door because of me, and he started calling other police from inside, and at least nothing happened to me. I wasn't arrested, I wasn't beaten, but they prevented me from getting the letter to the president, and I was locked out here. And then the militaries came and kicked me out of the park, so I was kicked out. So the president never read the letter I was bringing. I don't know how it was even going to be given to him, because in the state in which I was, I'm sure he himself will be afraid to even allow me to come closer to him. But I just hope that I could go. So that is one of the ways I confront situations as a radical resistance and empathy. Now, if we look at this chart, it summarizes my life. From 1981, when I was born, until 2003, I refer to that as colonial and Christian rearing. I was raised from a very strong Christian home. So if I say I've become an evangelist, a pastor, it's not because I went to mission school to study to become a pastor. You are just raised in that way until you accept that this is what you are and this is what you have to be doing. So 2003, I entered into teacher training college, and I was training to become a professional teacher, of course, which I became. But the school was also a missionary school. It was Evangelical Presbyterian Church, which in Togo we call it Bremen Church. And so the Bremen Church was brought by the Germans to the Transvaal Togoland. So this school I went, and during my period of training as a teacher, I became also a preacher. 2010, I decided to go back to the university to study painting. And this was when I would say I was born again. Because during the period when I went back to the university to study painting, I started studying other materials. We have presentations and we have a philosophical class. And one of my professors who was very radical, especially provoking your brain to think outside of things, was changing the whole department at that time, because we were no longer doing conventional painting. You were allowed to explore and to do something outside of conventional painting and sculpture. And so there was a time he was teaching about the allegory of the cave, if you know the Plato's allegory of the cave. And when I heard this, because by the time I met him, 2012 or 13, because from first year to second year, you are not taught by him. So in my second or third year, by the time I met him, I was already challenging some norms. So everybody was like, oh, you should meet this professor. When you get to his class, maybe you become like him. It's like, okay. And then he was taking the allegory of the cave. I felt like this story was my story. I felt like I was one of the people living in the cave, and this is why nobody can accept me. And it was very empowering for me. So from that time, I continued to push the boundaries, and I renounced my Christian identity around 2013, and by 2014 and 2015, I fully renounced God. And this is where my chart ended around 2015 and 16, before I stepped my feet into Europe for the first time. So that explains that I was not imported from Europe at all. Yeah, I was rather exported to Europe. So these are just recommendations. You can check on YouTube and see some of my videos. But then just showing you to understand the context, some of the paintings that I was doing before moving into performance. So for me, I realized that the paintings were not screaming enough and saying the stories I wanted to say. So I just decided to walk out of the canvas into the street to face these vulnerabilities and also to reveal the reality that we are facing. So recently I started looking at my paintings from 2010 to 13 as paintings. So because at the time I was painting a lot of paints, but people just look at aesthetic, people just talk about the beauty, people just tell me, hey, Va-Bene, oh, I never knew you can draw, I never knew you can paint. And that was even boring for me. because that's not what I'm saying. So these were some of my paintings, painting portraits of myself in flames, and painting, this is called Painful Joy, and this was just when I was looking at my neighbors always forcing their child to braid their hair because they wanted to identify as a girl, and then the other one was not treated the same way. And so like seeing how the cis heteronormative society force children to conform, but then they are so threatened when queer people are living their true self. They say we are influencing the children, but they have already indoctrinated those children. They just don't want the children to be open to other forms of understanding. And then now we are talking about a bill in Ghana. So around 2012, I painted the ex-president, the two of them kissing, and that was when I was in my undergraduate. So I painted that, and my conversation at that time was looking back into if the two ex-presidents who belonged to two different parties could kiss, what would have been a society like in Ghana like? Because it is easier for Ghanaian society and many other societies across the world to see two men hold knife and kill each other than to see two men hold hand and kiss. People will be more provoked to see two men kissing than to see two men fighting on the street. I just don't understand it. We will see a lot of viral videos of two women fighting, tearing themselves apart, stripping each other naked. People will be so happy to see that. But to see two women cuddling, kissing on the street, it will be chaos. So this was just, so you see this whole story painted on this flat canvas wasn't really enough. I felt like it wasn't speaking because people came to see this. They don't see it so provocative enough. They just appreciate me painting. And so this was when I started looking at my own state of confusion. So these are my three portraits that I brought together into an illusion, looking at the state when I got so confused, looking at my own identity, my own sense of belonging and the rest. So I've done paintings that explore all this I'm doing now in performance, but they were never enough for me. And then I started moving into collages and collecting panties, recreating a body in the way I imagined to be and stuff. And then I moved from that to the street where I would ask the audience to write and to draw what they imagine about my queer identity. And so these are the handwriting of audience in public spaces. And so this is the current video I was working on to publish before the bill. Unfortunately, the bill now passed, but I wanted to publish this to reveal the horror that was in Ghana. But still, I will be publishing it, and when it's published, I'll send the link across, and you are welcome to watch it. Because of time, I'm not showing the video, but just to introduce you to it. So it's a compilation of so many speech, violence, and attacks on the queer community and the rest, because the Ghanaian Attorney General denied in Geneva just last year that there is no violence against queer people in Ghana. So I was doing this to circulate across a lot of human rights organization, and it just was so heavy to watch it every day and edit it every day. And that is what took me more than 8 months. I couldn't finish this for publication. Okay, I don't know why the sound went off, but this is so that's the main proponent of the bill, the one they were interviewing. And is it coming from me?
No sound?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Let it run. Let it run. Just let it run.
Waiting for us. Because you are making this country ungovernable. We will make sure that we discipline.
You can also hear it. Unplugged.
It's over here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But can you hear? Also the microphone? Yeah, microphone can hear now, right? Okay. Okay. So you can now increase it. So you can give the volume now.
Yeah.
All form of corruption now. Now, so you have to tolerate some any Nakupomrano, about Bobra. Some no bar, you catch them, sir, we will disobey you. We will disregard your orders, and we will make sure that we lynch them. We will follow them in every corner, and we will make sure that we kill them. You are going to make this country ungovernable, and we are not going to tolerate that. And so we are sounding this caution to all of you. You should make sure that this bill gets passed. Because Ghanaians, we are not prepared to accept any terrorism in this country. And if you don't do that, and you do politics with it.
So you can listen to the kind of hate speech, and this was on public television. You know, so sometimes it's very difficult to tell the Ghanaian story in different countries because this is not possible on a national or public television in Denmark here. So when you hear it, it sounds like maybe you're just watching a horror movie. It doesn't sound real, right? You know, but this is it. This is the reality. Yeah, this is the reality. I was telling somebody yesterday that in Germany, you cannot post anything even on WhatsApp group without saying trigger warning. No, but we don't know trigger warning. You wake up and it's at your doorsteps. I don't think anybody come and post trigger warning before putting it at your doorsteps. You know, because it is the reality of the people. But this is it. So such persons making such statement motivated a lot of you to continue to attack a lot of queer people. And so this is why I like to do like public interventions. So last year there was a conference in Ghana.
Turn it up. Maximum volume. Just turn it up.
Okay. Yeah. So there was a conference that was talking about creative art performance and so on and so forth. It was international theater research conference, and it was hosted by the University of Ghana, and that is the dean of the university, the Faculty of Art.
Which woman? From the conference? But it's part of the conference.
So why I'm showing this is for you to understand the reality that I also confront in Ghana, because this is a conference. This is how pretentious the art spaces can also be. You know.
Okay, you're telling me she's the
Yeah. So it's one thing. It's one thing to perform on a stage as a drag queen, and it's another thing to live in the same community as a trans woman. So the fact that we have the stage to perform as drag queen doesn't mean that we have the right and the freedom and the privilege to walk around as queer people. And so when we're talking at this theater about all forms of radicality and the rest, I was there and I was like, no, this doesn't exist for us in Ghana. It doesn't exist. I have been fighting for a decade now in public spaces as a performance artist, so I know what I'm talking about. So the final day of the conference, I decided to create an intervention. And all I did was called Missing Link. And Missing Link is for them to understand what is missing in this. And so I posted the statement in a QR code and printed it for them. If they are curious enough, they should scan it. Because no one was talking about the bill. The bill criminalized any creative space that will be queer oriented or talk about queerness. So you can there's no going to be queer performance or anything. No, you can't do that. Not even drag queen. So how can we have such a conference in Ghana and people are pretending everything was fine? I went to the room, the bathroom, changed myself, put myself in clay, and I started singing and I walked through them. The dean and the host of the conference called the security. So the conference, the host called the security. And so when other artists from the conference, and it was only South African and UK artists who actually came to intervene here. The people who were confronting the security were artists from South Africa and the UK. Every other person was silenced and just watched from afar. And they confronted these people, and they managed to kick me out of the space. But they asked me stop anything. I never stopped. I was just keep walking. And that was how I wanted to reveal what is happening and calling it the missing link. It's on my Instagram and also website. So a few months after what I was talking about, that trans people don't have the same space, the same university, there was a trans woman who was attacked. The same university. This trans person was attacked, beaten, stripped naked, and walked through the university campus. This was the same university. And when I said that, and I was confronted by performance, they called the security on me. But this happened. The students attacked a trans person on campus, and no one intervened. That is how it is. So, because I have been in an art school, I have been in a university, I have seen when you perform as an artist and when you live your life as who you are. I know how the university can pretend to be a safe space. But when we leave that space and go out to the public spaces, it's not the same for us. And this was when I decided moving from canvas to public as a performance. And you can see how the public is, the churches are permitted to protest on the street and to allege that Sodom was destroyed because of homosexuality, and which is also not true, because I know my Bible, at least the ones I've read. So even on national television, I was in debate with a bishop who doesn't really know the Bible, and I had to educate him that he should read his own Bible, not mine, so that he wouldn't think that I am reading from what I wrote. And I made him to read from Ezekiel, and he got the understanding that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because the people were hateful, they were evil, they took advantage of poor people, marginalized people. And I said, that's what you are doing now in Ghana, because it was described in the same Bible. It has nothing to do with homosexuality. The association of Sodom to homosexuality was a rape case, and that is not romantic relationship. It was a rape case when they wanted to rape the angels. So the Bible has been used in several ways as an oppressive tool, but that is what is permitted in Ghana. And before I came out, or before I finally embraced myself, I only started talking about this year because there are a lot of things I have in my archive. I never speak about them. I never spoke about them because I wasn't creating them for the gallery. So this piece, or this work here, was when I was during my suicidal years. 2019 was my last suicide attempt. And so when just last week I was feeling so suicidal, I started reaching out to people. That's how people got me the therapies, because I started reaching out to my family and people were not understanding it until I had to speak boldly on Instagram. And then people came to my rescue. I was feeling so suicidal. But 2019, that I didn't die, was the end. But before then, during my suicidal years, I went to the church as an ex-pastor one night, and I stood before the altar and I prayed a deadly prayer. And I said, God, I have read you before. If you are the same God, or if you truly exist and you are in that heaven, and it is you who hate queer people, strike me dead here in the church. Strike me dead. And I set my camera. Like, if I die, tomorrow the priests and the bishops, they will see this and they will believe and they will know truly that God hates homosexuals. So strike me dead. Because I don't understand how they understand that you hate the people you create. So strike me dead. And I prayed and prayed. And as I'm sitting here, even though I no longer believe in God and Christ or whatever, I still do pray. I still say that, look, as I'm speaking here, if anyone believes that their God is really powerful enough that can kill queer people, I, Va-Bene Elikem, should be struck dead here. That is it. Why should I fear dying? And that was my prayer before, and that's how I redeemed myself. I only share this to let people know you can redeem yourself. That's how I redeemed myself. And then I became more bold and confident in living my life as I want, as I wish, as I love. And then going through how to even redefine myself in terms of pronouns. I was conflicted that English is the reason why we are battling over pronoun in Ghana, because no Ghanaian language has a pronoun for a girl or boy. I speak Ewe, you speak what? Hausa. In Hausa, he is what?
She.
she, right? Yeah. So in Ewe, he and she, the same. So there's no distinction between being a boy in pronoun or being a girl in pronoun. No. Even the French went as far as possible to even give a pronoun to tables and chairs. Yes. So I say she, he, it is Euro-American shit. Yeah, this is how it is. She, he, it is Euro-American shit. And this is why my pronoun is shit, if not she. So if you cannot identify me as a she, just use shit. That is perfect. So that is it. She is perfect, he is good, she, it is very good, shit is excellent. Because I am that I am. And so this is how I redefine myself over the years. And these are my public performances, confronted the same thing. And this was the very year they proposed a bill in Parliament, 2021. And when I don't know how again to deal with it, I went to the public space. I set up this cross on Good Friday, and I was on it. And when I was dying on this cross, honestly dying, something happened. What happened was that the same audience that I wanted to educate, and I want them to see the reality of the violence, because they say Ghana is Christian or religious. So you cry on Good Friday that Jesus Christ, and when I talk about Jesus Christ in Ghana, it's white Jesus with a long hair, looking very queer. That's the Jesus we serve in Ghana. But they love this queer-haired Jesus. But they hate black people. So I want them to reveal the black body on the cross, the queer body on the cross. So on the cross is queer life matter, freedom and justice, and black life matter. Yeah, so this is how I wrote them. And when I was almost dying, I was screaming in this. Yeah, the audio doesn't work, so you will not hear it. But you can watch it on YouTube. Yeah, I was screaming, and my voice finally faded off. So when that happened, they realized that I was dying. The audience started screaming that she's dying. And so it was the audience who came to my rescue in this piece. And that revealed that Ghana has always been tolerant. Ghana has always been caring and loving until all these homophobic evangelical preachers started teaching us that, no, we should kill each other. And so this is how the audience rescue me in this piece. Yeah. So in the cross, all I was screaming is, we are dying, we are crying, we are screaming. And you can see how I taught the Bible in the piece, and someone brought me water, and that is empathetic. And that is how I also hope that we can build empathy and love and care, compassion for the people. Yeah. So the laugh feast I mentioned earlier, I would show that, and then I'll be waiting for questions, and we see. Yeah, so this is the laugh feast, which around 20. I wish I can hear some sound. So the laugh feast, this year we hosted over 400 people at laugh feast. The first year when we had laugh feast, 150 was recorded in our book. Aside those who come and just go and come, 150. And then the following year it was about 200. And last year was 350. This year in our book 400. And I was like, so the same country that they claim that the masses or majority are against homosexuality, we have people who believe in that, who believe in us and believe in this love. Because it is the event that I allow both queer, non-queer, everyone to come together. We celebrate love. That's the concept of love. And like I said, every food and drink that you see here is just from my own salary. This year, because I paid a lot of tuition fees for people, I nearly couldn't fund the laugh feast. And then some of my friends from Switzerland opened a crowdfunding to raise some money to support. They were able to raise like 250 euros. But I spent close to 5,000 euros for this event. Renting chairs, making new tables, preparing food. Yeah, so that is, yeah. So I will just jump to some places. I want to see how they allow even their children now to come. So now these are neighbor students. They allow them to even come and twerk on our laughing stage. You know, that means something is changing. So to pass a bill like this is so horrible because these kids will grow and will never be hateful towards queer people because they will say we have seen that from our childhood. It's normal. It's okay. They are not threat to the society. So this is what I hope I could build. And this dancer here, this also like very interesting capture here because the musician is a straight cis person, but in this was dancing this sexual provocative with another queer person, and this is how Ghanaians live together. This is how we live together. Nobody cares about your sexuality or your gender, you know. And if you go to our funerals, look, you see straight cis people doing all sorts of. If you are not careful, you think everybody in Ghana is queer. And this is why I tell Ghanaians that everyone in queerness is the origin of the universe. Queerness is the origin of the universe. Everyone in Ghana is so queer, including the president of Ghana, the person who is even proposed the bill. If you look at his face, he's so queer. So that is our laugh feast. This was the laugh feast 2023, and this was the gathering for 2024. Yeah, and even this year we got a rainbow at our entrance. Yeah, you can see how we designed the space. Yeah. Yeah, so with this bill, I don't know, 2025, what it looks like for us. And this is our 6th year running this residency. So it's also our 6th year anniversary. Yeah, but if you just see the environment, you see how friendly, and that's the space on Google Map. If you Google my studio, crazinisT Artist Studio, that's the space. And for me, I'm building it. I'm also trying to see how, like a kind of black hole, how it can pull all other spaces together. And you can see it connecting to the churches around me. You can see the number of churches around me. Yeah, the number of churches. So sometimes we have to compete with the churches when we are making parties because the churches can be so noisy and loud, you know. Yeah, so just for you to see how the space looks like on the map. Yeah, so that's the crazinisT Artist Studio, which later I have to give so much of my space to become a residency space for artists and art production. Yeah, so I will just pause here and then welcome some questions from you and be showing